Hello, everyone. So this is the challenge lab in module 6. And what we want to do here is we want to create a VPC networking environment for the cafe. So we're going to create a VPC. We're going to create a Bastion host and connect to our private EC2 instance from there. And it is all, what's it called? A security practice for our web application. So let's get into it. I have already started my lab, so I've got my AWS environment ready and would go on to task 1 now. So our very first task is to create a public subnet. So here is the VPC console. I'm going to just open this in a new tab. So I want to create a lab VPC and so I want to create a lab VPC. Okay. Sorry. The lab VPC has been created for us already. I lost focus. So what we want to do now is that we want to create a subnet in this lab VPC, a public subnet with this configuration. So let's get to it. I can click on subnet here and create subnet. So I choose the lab VPC and go ahead and do that. So the name tag is public subnet. And the availability zone is going to be East 1A since says the first one is A. Then our IP CIDR block is going to be 10.0.0.0/24. And okay, so we are done here with the subnet. The next thing we want to do is we want to create an internet gateway and attach it to this lab VPC. Then we're going to we're going to edit the routes table that's been created in the VPC. So we're going to create an internet gateway and okay. So they didn't specify a name for the internet gateway, so I'll just say lab IGW. IGW. We'll create that. And then we're going to attach this to the VPC. So by now we should know what we do with, we should know what we do with an internet gateway and how the route tables work. So now we'll go to route tables for the next task. One to edit it and add the routes and then we're going to make the internet gateway the what's it called? The target. So to know which of this, because there are 2 route tables here, to know which one of them you want to use, you have to scroll to the site, it's a VPC, and you see this is the one that is attached to the lab VPC, the second one here. So we're going to open this. We're going to edit routes, add route. Destination is going to be to anywhere that has been stated here. And then for the target, I'm going to choose internet gateway. And here I'll be able to select my lab internet gateway, save changes. So we are done with this first task. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create our Bastion host. So I'll come back here and open the EC2 console. I'm using different tabs because I know that I'll be needing to go between these tabs and I don't want to keep going back and forth. So now want to create an EC2 instance in the public subnet of the lab VPC with these configurations. So I'll just scroll down here, say launch instance, and then let's start. The name, Bastion host. And oh yes, we're using an Amazon Linux. We're leaving this AMI. That's the one we are meant to use. Then the instance type is going to be T2 micro. We're going to, yes. So, okay, we're meant to, where is it? Okay, the key pair. Okay, we already have a key pair here. This, we're going to use that. Then I will edit the network setting and change this to the lab VPC. Now it says we should use a public subnet, so we are leaving it at this. We're going to leave this setting disabled. Yes, we want to create a security group called Bastion hosts SG or these configurations. So yes, SSH port 22. The source is going to be your IP address. So you say my IP and then it fills that in for you. That is all that we've got to do in here. So launch instance. So you want to read this one and understand what this is saying. Now, I want to allocate an elastic IP address for the Bastion host, and we already know why we are using an elastic IP address, so that would have a trusted IP address to continuously use, even if we stop and start our instance or we terminate it and want to create another instance, we can easily reattach the same IP address. So we'll come to elastic IP address down here. So it says allocate an EIP and make it reachable from the internet over IP4 by associating it with your Bastion host. So we'll click on allocate elastic IP and that's all, just allocate. And after that, we're going to attach it to, yes, so associate elastic IP address instance. So we choose the instance, the Bastion host now, it's running, and then that's all would associate here. So we are done with task number 3 as well. Now I want to test the connection to the Bastion host. So here we are going to be using we're going to be using Putty to connect to this and be sure that it's working. So I'm going to open Putty now. On one hand, I'm also going to open the EC2 instance. Where is it? Okay, so here is where you're going to download the SSH key. Come to details here. Show you download the right SSH key depending on the machine you are using. This tutorial is for people using Windows, by the way. So you download the PPK file. I already have it downloaded. Okay. Let me download it again because I have a feeling that it could have changed already. So just download PPK again. And so it's the file name is lab user. So now let's connect to this. You open Putty and then yes, open your, where's the EC2 instance? And then you want to copy this public IP4 DNS. You copy this, and that is what you are going to put in here as the host name for the IP address, the host name or the IP address. So you put the host name here. Then you would come to connection SSH auth. I'm clicking on the plus signs. You already know that. You click on credentials and you browse for the key pair you just downloaded. So this is the latest one. I'm going to double click on that and then click on open. Okay, so accept. When it says login as, you put EC2 user, EC2 user and enter. So this is authenticated. We are now sure that this is working, which is awesome. That is all that we need for now. So we have checked that connection to this is what's it called? It's possible and it's working. So the next thing I want to do is want to create a private subnet. So we'll come back to the tab that has VPC. We'll go to subnets, create subnet. We use our lab VPC. The name is private subnet. By the way, if you already read the whole of the instructions before starting and you know you're going to be creating the public and the private subnet, it's something you could have done at once like I did. I simply just created both subnets as one. You can see it says subnet 1 of 1 at once rather, and then you just click on add new subnet and you still have all of this to do, and you can create as many as you want. I don't know if it has limits. I've never crossed the limits before, but I've created like 8 subnets at once before. So that is it. So let's continue. We have given it the name tag. The availability zone is going to be the same one as the private subnet, the public subnet rather. And then the CIDR block is going to be this 10.0.1.0/24. And that is all we want to do here. So we'll create the subnet. The next thing I want to do is want to create a NAT gateway, and we know what we use a NAT gateway for, to enable the instances of the private subnets have access to the internet. So still on the VPC console, we'll click on NAT gateways and then want to create a NAT gateway. The name is lab NAT gateway, then public subnet. No, not you, my dear. Public subnet. Okay. Yes, so we are going to allocate an elastic IP to this. Since you do not have one elastic IP that is idle, just allocate here and you get one allocated to it. And that's all. Click on create NAT gateway. So the next thing is we want to create a private route table. That's the step number 20. So click on route tables, create route table, private route table. In the lab VPC. And then would create route table. After that, we are going to edit route. So you add a route, destination to anywhere, and the target is going to be your NAT gateway now. So NAT gateway, and you select the NAT gateway that you just created and save changes. So after this, we want to attach it to the subnet. So we'll still come back to actions and edit subnet associations. So we select our private subnet, of course, and then save association. So that is it. We're done with task 6. We want to move on to the next task. which is creating an EC2 instance in the private subnet that we just created. So come to EC2 instance, click on instance secure, just go back one step here to go back to my instances. I'd click on launch instance. So here it says you should create a new key pair with this name, something. I don't have to first go and create that anyway. You can always do that at the point of launching your instance. I clicked on okay, so it was hanging. So this is the configuration that we want for this private instance. What's the name? Private instance. Good. So we're using Linux, we're using this AMI, this instance type. Awesome. So just click on create key pair. I'm using .ppk. Voki2 EY2. And then create key pair. And this key pair is the one we are going to use with this instance now. So I'm going to edit the network setting so that I can put it in the right VPC and have this security group configured. So put it in the lab VPC and in a private subnet. So yes, it's in a private subnet. I'm going to disable this setting, create a new one, and this time I'm going to say private instance private instance SG. So we want to it's the type is SSH. We are having port 22, and the source is going to be the security group of the Bastion host. And I already mentioned this earlier. We have already seen it that we can how is it called? We can reference a security group in a security group. So the source type would be custom, and here you just type SG and you find the Bastion host has SG. So that is what we want to use. And that is it to launch this instance. Now I want to configure our SSH clients for SSH pass-through. If you just read through this, you understand what this is trying to say. But the summary is that usually when we want to connect to an instance using an SSH client, so we're going to be using, we're going to be uploading our key pair and all of that. So to connect to this private instance through the Bastion host without having to upload the key pair, we're going to be doing the SSH pass through, and that is a good security practice, and it's mentioned here. So now for Microsoft Windows user anyway, and as I said earlier, this tutorial is for Microsoft Windows user. That's what I have, window. I don't have door. So let's proceed. Now you want to download God. Now I'm going to embarrass myself because how is this in pronounced? Patient, whatever it is. You want to download it from the Putty download page. So if you come to this page, you'd find it down here. I did not see it. How can I not even see it? Actually, I had to do Control F, and then I typed page. Oh God, I should have checked out to pronounce this thing. So this is it here. Just click on this, it downloads it, you install it, and then you have it running. You run it rather, and so it will be there for you. Now let's continue. After you have downloaded that, you want to have the keys saved on it. So I'm going to do that now. When I come to this place, I'll find it here. Sometime earlier, the icon was just out here and I could just tap and it's open. So now I'm going to open it, and then you do add key. So you put the two keys. The instruction says to take them one by one, but I discovered I could just carry both of them at once. Lazy people like me would always do things this way. So now I've got both keys in there like this, and that is it. So now I've also added the lab user key and the VO key to key pair. So both of them are fine now. What we want to do next is we want to connect to our Bastion host the same way we connect normally. So if I go to all of these things that are here, if I come to, it says we should proceed to step 32. So if I come here, it's still same to say we should do SSH connection. Want to connect to the Bastion host first. So we'll just do it the way we have been doing it. And I still have my connection here anyways. It has not timed out yet, even though I didn't set the time to extend. So let's hope we'll be able to use it till the end. So after we have now done that, you remember how we connected to the Bastion host anyways. So if you still have yours open, awesome. If you don't have it open, just make the connection again. Now, okay, we cannot use this one because there is something we should do. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry about that. So I'm going to close this and restart. I'm going to close this session and restart it because there is a setting that we need, but that we have not enabled. So it says, let me open it and put it to the side here. So connection, SSH, and auth. So here is connection, here is SSH. Then instead of clicking on this plus sign, just click on auth itself. When you do that, you'd see allow agent forwarding. You check this box, you get that. And then after that, you continue to connect the way you usually would. That's the rest of this, and that is what you have in step 32. So we're just going to connect to it normally. So I'm going to click on session to go back to the beginning. I think I still have yes. So I still have this. If you don't understand, this is what I just pasted. We want to connect to the EC2 instance that we're using as our Bastion host. So yeah, this guy. So I just copied this public IP4 DNS. That is what I pasted in there just now. So I'm going to connect to it. Come up. Next thing I want to do is auth, then credentials. So I'm going to have the key pair loaded in this lab user and then open. Login as you remember, EC2-user, then enter. Now we have connected to our Bastion host. So what is the next thing we are meant to do here? Come up here, my dear. So the next thing we want to do, is connect to the private instance by using SSH and the IP address for the private instance. So we don't need to load the key pair, remember. So we just do SSH, this command here, SSH EC2-user at, then we can copy the private IP address of the private instance. So we have to come back to instances. I'm going to open that in a new tab. And then I will select the private instance we just created and the private IP address. So I'm going to paste that in here and do enter. So you press yes when you type yes when it asks for that. And now we have connected to our private EC2 instance. So if you check the IP address that you have in here, you see that it is the IP address of the private instance, which means we have done so well up to this point. So you clap for yourself. Now that I connected to the EC2 instance in the private, test the connection by pinging. ping 8.8.8.8 and then enter. So we can see the ping running. So this is working fine. You do Control-C to exit this. Just stop everything and leave it. Don't close this. You're still going to use it. Instead of starting all over again, just continue using it. So we have now established communication between the Bastion host in the public subnet and the EC2 instance in the private subnet, like this diagram. Look at the diagram. Study it very well. Thank you. So awesome. Now to enhance the security layer for the private resources, we are big on security. Want to use network access control list now. And so it says want to create a custom network ACL to control traffic to and from the private subnet. We know what network ACL is and we know how it functions. So let's come back to our VPC console and look at, so we should look at the default network ACL of the lab VPC. Need to go and look at it. You would see all of these things that they said. They said the subnets that I created are automatically associated with the default network ACL. Then this inbound and inbound and outbound rules of this ACL allow all traffic. So now I want to create our own ACL, the custom one, and that we are going to set the way we want it. So create a custom network ACL, lab network ACL, lab network ACL in lab VPC, of course. And then what do we want to do? So the default inbound and outbound rule, the custom network ACL just deny all traffic. So when I click on create, we are going to see what is being said. Where is our this that I just created now? So this is it here. If we click into it, you are going to see the inbound rules. All of them are denied. Outbound rules, everything denied. You can see that. Now we want to allow want to configure this to allow all traffic that goes in and out of the private subnet. All you have to do is edit. So inbound rules, I'm going to edit the inbound rules, add no rule. So it's going to ask you for, it's going to ask you for a rule number. I'll just say rule number 1. And then here I'm going to say all traffic and then allow, right? So we'll click on save changes. Then we go to the outbound rules as well. We edit that and we do the same thing, add no rule. I'm going to say rule number 1 as well. Then the type is going to be all traffic, then allow, leave it as so, and then you save changes. So now that we have edited the inbound and outbound routes to allow all traffic, the next thing we want to do is the second part of this, which says of the private subnet. So there is still one more thing to do before we proceed, and that is associating this with the private subnet. So let's say associate subnet, and then we choose the private subnet. Then we save changes. So we are done with that. The next thing we want to do is we want to test this custom network ACL. And to do that, we're going to be launching another instance, a test instance. So to do this, we'll go to instances and would launch instance. So this is going to be test instance. And then we're using this AMI, all of these are correct. I'm going to proceed without a key pair since a key pair was not specified and we are not going to be needing a key pair anyways. So the next thing I want to do is we'll edit the network settings. The VPC is going to be lab VPC. It's going to be in a public subnet as specified. I'm going to disable this, then create a security group. So I'm going to call this the test SG. And then, yes, so this one now, it says we want to allow all ICMP IP4 inbound traffic to the instance. That's the first part of it. So I want to say the type is going to be all ICMP IP4. The source is going to be custom. And now we want to reference the SG of, look at this, of the private instance in here. So it means we want to connect to this test instance from the private instance that we created. So we do SG and then choose private instance. Sorry, my what's it called? My autofill is blocking the thing. So yes, private instance SG, and that's it. We'll choose this one. So I think the configuration for this is now set. So we'll do launch instance. Now the oh god. Okay, sorry. I already have the test SG and what's it called? The test SG security group. So I had created that and this thing had stopped recording. So I had to come back and do this again. It had stopped recording without me knowing. So I've forgotten that I already have this. So I had to delete some of the resources to come back to this point. So I'm just going to select existing security group. In your case, you just follow what I did in here now, and then you'll have the same thing. So instead, I'm going to select the test SG that I already created the exact same way. So yes, and then I'm going to launch the instance. Now, the next thing we want to do is that we want to connect to this test instance from our private instance. Oh God, I had too much problems. I accidentally closed my session, and now I've got to start that all over again. So first thing, we want to connect to our what's it called again? First to the public instance, to the Bastion host through OT. Your own should still be running, so I do not expect that you'd come back and do this. So remember, SSH auth, allow agents forwarding, then auth, then credentials, then browse for this. So open EC2-user, enter. Then the next thing would be SSH EC2-user at. All of this you should have done before. That's what I'm taking them to explain, but I'm just trying to connect to the private instance now. So copy this and then paste and then enter. Good. So now we want to connect to the test instance from this private instance. So I'll go back to EC2 and grab the private IP address of the test instance and then paste that in. So here's the test instance, and then here's the private address. So I'll paste that and, oh, sorry, ping, then this, ping the address. So you can see the ping utility running. So we are going to leave this running, and we are now going to test the efficacy of our ACL. So we'll come back to the ACL. Where is it? The network ACL. And what do we want to do here? We want to deny access to all ICMP traffic to this private instance. So now it says to the instance. So what we want to edit here is the outbound rules. So come to edit outbound rules, and then the first thing you have to do is you have to remove this particular rule that allows all traffic. Then you add new rule. I'm going to call this rule number 1 still, and this is going to be all visits. Behave yourself. God, behave yourself. This thing. Maybe all ICMP IP4. So want to paste the address of the private instance and then /32. Remember to change this to deny. And now I'm going to save changes. You'd notice this is still running. I'm going to save changes now and then bring this up. So if we have done well, it should stop. And yes, it has stopped immediately. So we have blocked access to it, and now it is no longer running. So I think that is all we have to do. Yes, so now you have to answer the questions about the lab on your own and then submit. So this is what I did, and you can see I've got my full marks. And of course, you have to answer the questions anyway. So thank you very much. See you some other time. Bye.